In this presentation, we will highlight findings inspired from the 2023 season. We have identified the findings from feedback we have received from the assessors in the Event Quality Index surveys, as well as from SEA reports and observations on site. We will mention great achievements delivered by committed organizers as inspiration for future organizers. We will highlight selected learning points. It is not the intention to blame hardworking volunteers, but as IOF and federations, we are committed to continuously learn how to improve the quality of our events. We do this because we want our outstanding and professional athletes to have the best possible quality in events that are fair and exciting to follow for the spectators. We have been seeking inspiration from the high-level events shown in the slide. It includes the World Orienteering Championships, the European Orienteering Championships, the World Cup rounds in Norway and Czech Republic, as well as the Junior World Orienteering Championships in Romania. We start in Switzerland in July at the extremely successful World Orienteering Championships. The Swiss way of planning and organizing high-level events serves as a benchmark for other organizers. In the top of such an organization, you find skilled managers, and all volunteers are well trained and informed, ready to help you. Between the top management and the volunteers, you find function leads who either have long experience from previous events or are willing to learn. In both cases, they commit to be part of a detailed planning work and to execute these detailed plans to the best of their ability. The WOC organization is described in other presentations. Here we will just once more emphasize the importance of distributing the work to skilled function leads. As a general rule, the top management of an event should not have anything to do during the event week. Everything is delegated to those who execute the plans. When you have a strong organization with detailed plans, you also have the surplus energy to handle difficult situations before they get out of hand. In IOF, we are happy that Switzerland keeps coming back with offers to organize high-level orienteering events. With this professional approach, we know we are in safe hands. Climate change has also come to orienteering. In 2022, the JWOC forest distances were delayed 4 months due to risk of fire. 1 week after O-Ringen 5 days in 2023, the host city Ore was heavily damaged by extreme rainfall. 2 stages of the Swiss O Week just after WOC 2023 were cancelled due to bad weather. In this slide, you can see pictures from the pre-start of the long distance of the World Cup Round 1 in Norway, 2 days before the competition. A heavy rainfall caused a flood that put an additional workload on the organizers. It went well due to a combination of luck that the rain did not come 2 days later and an organization that was capable of handling extreme situations. Future orienteering events must have safety and contingency plans about how to handle extreme situations, both in terms of what to do, but also how to communicate with the key stakeholder groups. The key to orienteering is great terrains. We do not want to compromise on having the best forest terrains for our high-level forest events. The terrains must be technically challenging and fair. The terrain in Østfold in Norway, used for World Cup number 1 in 2023, is recognized for just this. The level of details caters for careful map reading, and an adequate size of hills give possibility to have route choice challenges. Athletes have high hopes for courses in this outstanding terrain. So even in this terrain, organizers show great care in evaluating and adjusting courses, and, if possible, they bring in former top athletes to pre-run and evaluate the courses to get the most out of even this terrain. The terrain around Kaumasee in Flims, used for the walk middle distance in 2023, has for many years been famous for its technical complexity and low visibility. The terrain for the middle final did not disappoint. The athletes enjoyed the challenges. Apart from the tricky contour details, athletes should also navigate around fallen trees and rocks that were too small to show on the map. This meant additional challenges of running skills in addition to navigation skills. COVID-19 disturbed the preparations for WOC 2021 in Czech Republic. One of the consequences was that the outstanding terrain selected for the pre-WOC at Euromeeting was not used as planned. Fortunately, the Czech organizers volunteered to host a World Cup round in 2023 to show this fantastic terrain to the athletes and spectator race participants. The spectacular sandstone rock areas provided great TV pictures and tricky controls, as well as challenging route choice legs. One athlete said, "I simply did not know what way to run." We now change our focus to sprint terrains. Some of the sprint terrains in European Orienteering Championships 2023 were afterwards criticized of being too easy, meaning that the races were more about running than navigation. In the example from the sprint qualification race, the middle half of the course had orienteering with few route choices and relatively simple orienteering. In this case, venue had to be changed a few months before the competitions, and there were distance constraints due to having qualification and finals in the same day. So there was, in this case, good reasons why this terrain was chosen. However, IOF is committed to having high-quality terrains and courses in all high-level events. We will have a special emphasis on qualification races in sprint. Naturally, many athletes will only make it to the qualification races, and we want to make sure they are also faced with technically challenging orienteering. If this means that one more remote area should be used and that the qualification races should then be held in separate days, this is a price we should be prepared to pay. After great terrain, spectacular arenas are a top priority. Great arenas give athletes and on-site spectators the feeling of being part of an exciting event, and the TV viewers also get a great show. The picture shows the KAN Varna Raceway that formed the arena for all three finals at the first World Cup round in 2023. It was really cool to use existing facilities in the middle of a great terrain. WOC 2023 had a compact arena with slopes all around and a truly impressive grandstand with room for thousands of spectators. The organizers also designed the run-ins to the arenas in a way that gave spectators great views of the athletes in the very last part of the course. In addition, the alpine views around the arena and the nice weather contributed to a truly great spectator experience. In the European Orienteering Championships in Italy, the organizers managed to get permission to have the famous Arena di Verona as background for the athletes sprinting towards the finish. The spectacular town wall of Soave, in combination with the beautiful Italian autumn colors in the slope behind the town, formed another great view that made the sprint relay of the European Championships even greater to see. And as the town was shown to a lot of TV viewers in many countries, they may have been reminded of the beauty of the northern Italian towns, also giving some inspiration for possible future holidays. 2023 provided great examples of using drone images. A JWOC does not have resources for a lot of cameras, but the JWOC organizers compensated in a great way with amazing drone images from the courses around the Finnish area. Also at the European Orienteering Championships in Italy, the drone photos gave an additional impression of the beauty of the cities, as well as a great way to follow the athletes with fewer cameras. At World Cup Round 2 in Czechia, the so-called follow-person drones were used. These drones can fly close behind the athletes in low altitude and providing amazing pictures. The athletes have indicated that such drones does not disturb more than running cameramen, and many athletes use the drone shots afterwards in their social media profiles. We want to have our events visible in the local area. It contributes to the feeling of athletes and spectators of having arrived at an important event. The pictures to the left and right show the welcome banners and posters from WOC 2023, a real benchmark for how this is done. The picture in the middle from the World Cup in Norway is not to blame the organizers. They made a great event. But the picture shows the entrance to the raceway where the arena was. There was no sign at all that an orienteering event was taking place. This has been an inspiration for IOF that we should find ways to support organizers with signs and posters that can help make the World Cup events more visible locally. 2023 was a year where athletes had several accommodation sites where all teams could stay close to each other. In WOC in Switzerland, the organizers even managed to have the cost of using the accommodation paid for the athletes, which of course was well received. The pictures show the Bella Italia camping site at the southern shore of Lake Garda, where the athletes stayed during European Orienteering Championships 2023. It is much appreciated by the teams to stay in the same accommodation site. In 2023, unfortunately, we were once again faced with map paper challenges, in this case in JWOC in Romania. The organizers used a certified print shop, but anyway a few maps ended up looking like the map in the picture that you can see is really hard to read. Naturally, we must do whatever we can to avoid this. Food Orienteering Commission and Map Commission are continuously working on finding solutions. Map Commission have updated their recommendations for use of paper and plastic bags. What we will also do in the future is to evaluate the track record of the existing procedures and print shops used for printing maps in the organizing countries. If there is a track record of many years to produce perfect maps, we recommend to use the exact same process for the high-level event maps. At the same time, we also recommend to carefully check the actual printed maps before the competition. This also means that the map should be printed early enough to have time to reprint, if, despite all precautions, the paper quality turns out not to be good enough. We now return to sprint to talk about safety. In the sprint qualification of European Orienteering Championships 2023, the roads were planned to be closed for traffic. However, local traffic, e.g. cars leaving the area, cannot be fully avoided. Athletes coming from Control 6 on the red route choice went so fast around the corner that they came out in the middle of the road, where at least one athlete was very close to be hit by a car. Safety is a continued attention area in sprint. We must continue to work with this. Here is the same leg, with Kasper Fosser approaching control 7 at high speed. If a car had come from the south, the driver would not have expected to see an athlete there. Danish Andreas Bock Bjørnsen is coming from the control and is taking the natural blue route choice in the middle of the road. In the picture, two girls in the blue route choice is meeting a car driving in the opposite direction. Obviously, the car driver would not expect to find athletes in the middle of the road. On the other hand, the athletes are fighting about seconds and they will naturally optimize their route. In this case, it would have been great to have traffic guards to hold back the cars when athletes were passing. Another safety-related situation is found where courses pass through areas with many tourists. These are the beautiful places in the cities, and naturally we want to show them on TV. But we want safety for tourists and fairness for athletes. In the picture, a guarded route crossing a market square is shown. To the right, you see the guards that keep the passage open when athletes are passing. It is extremely critical for us to spend the effort necessary to have safe passages in combination with challenging orienteering. This is something we work on in IOF's Sprint Specialist team, but also a key attention point for organizers. The knockout sprint elimination rounds and finals are a special area of focus from a safety perspective. We must do careful time planning to make sure athletes in one heat is not coming around a corner at the same time as another athlete in another heat is running in the opposite direction. In addition, we should place cones or fences at corners to make sure athletes cannot cut the corner in a way that increases the collision risk. This last precaution can also be used in other sprint formats. Now, let us get back to the forest. Orienteering is an endurance sport, often with physically challenging terrain. In the tough courses in the walk relay, a few athletes were exhausted to a degree that could have been a health risk. Naturally, the athletes want to fulfill the course at any price, and it is really difficult to persuade him or her that they must quit the race to go into medical care. Since the incident at WOC, a lot of thoughts have been done how to handle this kind of situations in the future. The IOF has now clarified the IOF rules, stating that the organizer can stop an athlete when it is the organizer's evaluation that this athlete should immediately be brought to medical care. In our rules, we have specified what winning times we should meet. We have quite a bit of knowledge about the performance of our best athletes that we want to use to find ways to avoid having winning times outside the required time interval. In this rather busy table, the winning time in the rules, as well as the actual winning times in the WOC, is shown. The middle distance and the relay had longer winning times than the rules ask for. Such a deviation is a challenge for the athlete's preparation and a problem for the TV time schedule. If for some reason an organizer has strong reasons why they are not able to meet the winning times, it is better to ask for a rule deviation. In the cases at WOC, it would probably have meant courses of lower quality if the courses had been some minutes shorter, and if everyone had known in advance that the times would be slightly longer, it would have been less of a problem. Let us now look at the climb in our forest races. In our rules, we have specified that the maximum climb of a forest orienteering course should not exceed 4%. This maximum climb was exceeded in some races in 2023. The table shows the actual climb in the forest races in the World Cup in Czech Republic. The green figures show what the climb would have been with 4%. The red figures show how much the climb actually was. And out here you can see the actual climb in percentage of the length of the course. As previously mentioned, it was great terrain, and it must also be considered that the arena was changed a few weeks before the races, so that the courses had to be changed. However, it is still worth to consider how the climb can be reduced in really hilly terrain. Now we are back in sprint and at the EOC 2023. After the 2022 season, we had some discussions about marking of out-of-bounds areas. On one hand, we cannot tape everything, and taping is not considered environmentally friendly. On the other hand, is fairness paramount to our sport, and it is not fair if an athlete is disqualified because of passing of an area that is barely visible on the map or in the terrain. On the other hand, it is equally unfair if an athlete respects areas that others are not disqualified by passing. Here's an example from the JWOC sprint. The stream was crossed by pipelines that you were allowed to pass underneath. The organizer had marked these pipelines to alert the athletes, but unfortunately with the same color of tape as was used to mark out-of-bounds areas. So some athletes lost time because they thought they were not allowed to pass. You should always be very careful to use different colors of tape for different purposes, and clearly communicate this. In WOC and World Cup, we always use IOF tape to mark out-of-bounds areas, to distinguish clearly from other tapes found in the cities. Sprint maps must be carefully checked for readability and marking of out-of-bounds areas. The map sample shows with a red circle an area that was discovered in the pre-check, but due to too many tasks for the course team, unfortunately it was not corrected. The area is too small to show with the out-of-bounds signature that was actually used. This caused one of the previously mentioned situations where no good solutions could be found. It was unfair to disqualify those who did not see the crosses, and it was unfair also to those who saw it and went around, or even went in and then turned back when they realized the mistake. IOF has developed a checklist and a procedure for checking for such cases in WOC and World Cup sprint events to try to avoid situations like this in the future. Another learning from 2023 is how to handle marked routes. In the JWOC Relay 2023, it was clearly shown in the map that athlete had to punch the control before the arena passing and the control where the arena passing ended. These are shown, as you can see, as controls 10 and 11 in the map. Unfortunately, the taping stopped some meters before control 11. In the pictures you can see the leading Swedish athlete Alma Svenerud passing the control without punching. She eventually sprinted for a gold medal, only to be disqualified. The rules are clear. There was no way to avoid the disqualification, but of course we want to avoid situations like this. In this case, either the tape could have been extended to the control and made so narrow there that it was not possible to pass without punching, or having left out control 11 and had the dotted line changing directly into a firm line towards the next control where the tape ended. A challenge that keeps coming back is a generation of start lists. The teams enter their athletes the day before the race, and then the organizers have a few hours to produce the start lists. It's a problem for the teams, the press, the TV, and the spectators if the start lists are published late. The experience is that it takes longer time than expected to have everything right. IOF has aimed at making the special rules for start list simpler in 2024, but it is still recommended to develop a cookbook for the actual race and test it properly sometime before the event is on. It is an unfortunate situation if an athlete is sure to have punched all controls and still turns out to be missing a punch at the readout. To reduce the risk, in some races in 2023, athletes have been asked to run with 2 e-cards. Then the backup card can be read if the primary does not have all the punches. At WOC 2023, 1 e-card was used throughout with no problems, maybe because new e-cards were used. In several sprint races, 2 cards were used. In some cases, this solved the problems. For 2024, the IOF has stated in the timing manual that 2 SI cards should be used if Sport Ident is used for the event. In the slide, you can see the green GPS track of Tove Alexandersson and the red of Simona Ebersold, meeting each other in the middle of the course. GPS is great to give route choice analysis and explain mistakes. It is an issue when GPS stops working, like was the case later in the course with Tove Alexandersson in this long final at WOC 2023. It may be considered to have 2 GPSs with the athletes in red start group. This, however, raises the question if it is fair they have to carry this additional weight. We do not have an answer to this yet, but how to have reliable GPS coverage is a continued focus area. Prize givings are key moments for the athletes. For some, it may be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. In 2023, we had a few challenges with prize givings. A special attention area is when giving out prizes in World Cup relays with more than 1 team from each nation participating. In this situation, it's important to study the special rules to make sure prizes are given to the right teams. Usually only 1 team from each nation will be among the 6 teams on the podium. Also, the IOF protocol guideline should be carefully studied, and the procedure should be practiced by the people in charge of the ceremony in good time before the ceremony starts. Finally, let us not forget the attention we give to sponsors and local dignitaries. All events in 2023 had great VIP initiatives. In World Cup Round 1, sponsors and partners were invited to presentations by key persons and had a dedicated VIP host. WOC had an extensive VIP area and program. World Cup Round 2 had a clearly advertised VIP concept, and in the European Orienteering Championships, an impressive van was used for VIPs. The van is seen from above in the pictures here. These are all great initiatives to attract more partners to our events. This was a stroll through selected points of attention from 2023. Let us once more stress that this is not to put any blame on organizers who have done a great job in delivering memorable events. But the learnings are simply better explained by using real examples. And the learnings are primarily for use for us in IOF, what we should remember to look for to give the best possible advice for you as future organizers. We want to avoid being criticized after the event for things that could easily have been changed if just we had known about it. So, let us work together in 2024 to create high quality and fair events that are great to be part of and great to watch. Let us end this presentation with this amazing picture from the long distance final in the World Cup in Czech Republic and open the floor for questions. Thank you.